Welcome to Tales from the Streets. Here's what our narrator has to say. See here, what I'm about to tell you, I pray never happens to even my worst enemy. I was a banker in one of the first generation banks some 25 years ago. Yes, long time ago. My bank was not in Lagos at that time. I was attached to a branch in one of the southwestern states. You know, once you're not in Lagos, life outside is not as exciting. But then I was young and I had finished my NYSC 2 years prior and I had been retained at the bank I served. Like I said, I was young and I was looking for fun. What else do you do in your 20s? Now it happened that there was a local chief who was one of our top customers and he always came to our bank to deposit cash. Those were the days when ATM was not even on the radar. People had to practically come to the bank to do virtually everything. Electronic banking was still quite new and not popular. Then, people would come to the bank and queue for long hours. Life was tough then for us bankers because everything had to be done manually and in an analog style. This chief always came to the bank in white agbada with beads on his neck and wrists. And he always brought one old weather-beaten suitcase filled with money every day to the bank. I later found out he owned a petrol station and a restaurant in town, which explains why he came to the bank to deposit cash daily. He came in between 6 to 7 p.m. every evening. This chief, I later heard, was a philanderer, even though he had 3 wives. I was told he chased everything in skirts. So you see, he had quite a reputation, plus of course he was rich. I was looking for fun, but not looking to be chief's 4th or 10th concubine. One day, our paths crossed when the regular guy who always assisted the chief in counting his money was not around. Ours was a small branch. Our entire staff that period was about 15. Many times we were doing 3 people's work or more. That day, my manager assigned me to chief. Like I said, it was evening and I was prepping to go home. Well, not home like that. I was going to meet someone, you know. When ladies are leaving the office, they usually freshen up. I had just redone my makeup and worn my heels instead of slippers I had been moving around in the office. I was set. So when my boss said to go and assist chief, for me it was a show spoiler because there was this guy who had been toasting me for weeks and we were supposed to meet that day. Anyway, I helped chief count his money, logged it in, then posted for the day. Chief complimented my looks and told me I would be his 4th wife. I knew he was teasing, but even then I was flattered. This chief could be my father's age, so just understand that I knew he was a no-go area. Before chief left that day, he gave me 3,000 naira. In those days, it is a fortune because my salary was barely 15,000 naira, even though bankers at that time were one of the highest paid people, but I was still junior by far. I was flattered. I went on my knees to thank chief. What would I do with the money that was already in my hand? To be honest, I had no thoughts about sleeping with chief or having any affair with him. I just felt lucky. The following day, the chief asked for me again, even though his regular guy had returned, and every time he would dash me money. Sometimes 1,000, other times 1,005. Then one day he asked me to see him outside. At this time, I was prepared to lie that I was engaged to another person. I was not interested. Anyway, as expected, chief told me he was interested in me. He told me he didn't want any answers yet, that he will give me time to think about it. When I wanted to talk, he shushed me up and said, "Ronke, think first before you talk. I will teach you many things." After that, he will come, compliment me, dash me money, then talk about his business. No more amorous talks. I began to wonder if he had lost interest in me and was just being polite. One day, he invited me to his petrol station. He told me one of his wives and staff were colluding to rob him. He showed me the account books. At this time, I concluded all Chief wanted from me was a smart person to check his books and not necessarily any kind of romance. So I began to help him spot the loopholes, and pretty soon, Chief was able to tell who took money from where. And I got paid too for doing this. Some weeks after this, a woman came to the bank. Those were the days when security was not as tight as they are today. No electronic doors or stuff like that. This woman walked in with a man, then asked for Ronke. Where is she? Where is the harlot that wants to take my husband from me? My heart was pounding. I didn't even think she was one of Chief's wife. My own was, who is this woman? That day, I was stationed at the customer service unit. My desk was in the banking hall. The man just pointed at me. I recognized him as the manager at Chief's petrol station. The woman walked up to me and smiled as she opened her bag and brought out a black nylon. Then before I knew it, she emptied the content on me. It was shit. It was excreta, feces, ibe. She poured it on me, from my head down to my clothes. I screamed. I was shaking. The smell filled the banking hall. I didn't even know when I began to brush it off and it smeared me more. I screamed and tore my blouse off, tore my skirts off, just to run from all the smell and shame. Everyone in the banking hall took off. My dear, it's more than 25 years, so I can talk about it now. That day, I'm not sure how I got to the staff toilet. I think somebody led me to the toilet because at that time, my mind was in turmoil. I wasn't even thinking. All I wanted to do was get rid of the clothes on me and the shit. Remove my clothes, scrub myself clean, and never ever step into that bank again. Nobody stopped that woman. Nobody helped me. I mean, I was smeared in shit. In Yoruba land, that is the height of shame. I was accused of being a mistress, but really, it was to stop me from helping Chief nail the culprit who had been stealing from him. I leave them all to God. I never went back to the bank. The following day, I packed all my belongings and came here to Lagos to my parents. It took me months to get over this. My parents were instrumental in getting me back on my feet. For many months, I had nightmares of being smeared in shit all over again. Like I said, I pray this never happens to anyone, even my worst enemy, because 25 years after, I still smell that shit. If you enjoyed this story, please like, share, and subscribe. Thank you.